After weeks of protesting against the deliberate, violent targeting of black people by white police officers, many Michael Brown supporters are now openly celebrating the murder of two NYPD cops, one of which is Hispanic, the other of which is Asian. Here we see the tragic response of the son of one of the slain officers, who will not be spending Christmas with his father. And the response to that from one Mike Brown supporter: "Fuck that little bastard, lol. Maybe daddy will be home for Xmas. Laughing my ass off. Nah, I lied." And if you think that this is just a few idiots on Twitter, then think again. I'm being bombarded with messages from people celebrating the brutal murder of these two cops. Literally dozens of examples. Smoked pork, the two NYPD pigs have kicked the bucket and are on their way to hell. There's no justice in USA except when cops get shot in the head. Calling them the killer a legend. Did two cops just die, or do young black men have two more chances at life? Stay positive. So, therefore, every NYPD officer is out to kill black men now, apparently. Every single one of them, and deserves to be shot in the head, according to these Mike Brown supporters. It goes on and on and on. These are just some of the tweets collected over the past 12 hours or so. A salute to the murderer who shot the cops in the head. Asking why people are even mad at the murderer. It goes on and on, calling him a legend. I wish he would have killed two more cops before he went out. Two cops should die every Saturday to make shit legit. And taking inspiration from this, we now have people threatening to go out tomorrow and kill more cops. This alleged tweet from Daryl Lofton out of Memphis, Tennessee. "Good job. Kill them all. I'm on the way to New York now. Shoot the police. Two more going down tomorrow." We also have a police officer killed in Florida. No hard clues as to the motive so far. The Daily Caller has compiled more tweets from people celebrating, laughing at the murder of these two cops. You can see them in the screenshot here. It just goes on and on and on. And as I stated on numerous occasions, this was all tragically predictable, especially after many quarters of the mainstream media venerated the violent Ferguson rioters after the grand jury verdict in the Michael Brown case. Of course, Ferguson in defense of rioting, Time magazine published this article legitimizing and justifying a violent response. The debate then all became about cop hating and racism, while failing to completely address the source of the problem, which is twofold: violence and police brutality within the police community, but also what nobody talks about in the mainstream media after the Ferguson riots, which is the very real problem of violence within the black community. Now, this is a major contributing factor to why blacks are targeted by the police. This is something the mainstream media and all the Black Lives Matters protesters and the groups that hijack that protest refuse to address. The fact that despite blacks only making up 13% of the American population, they're responsible for 52% of all homicides between 1980 and 2008, according to FBI and Bureau of Justice statistics. So white people, which includes Hispanics as well, even though they make up the vast majority of the population, those two groups were responsible for 45% of homicides. Blacks, even though they only make up 13% of the population, responsible for 52% of the homicides. 93% of black victims are killed by other blacks, again, despite the fact that they only make up 13% of the population, compared to 84% of whites killed by whites, despite the fact that they make up the majority of the population. Are black people disproportionately more likely to commit crimes because of their skin colour? No, it's due to cultural factors, socioeconomic factors, none of which have been addressed in the aftermath of Ferguson by either the media or these protest leaders who made it all about race baiting and cop hating. So yes, part of the blame lies with the media, with the likes of Al Sharpton, for whipping up this fervour, this hysteria, which encourages the fringe lunatics to go out and act on this kind of rhetoric. This idea that all white people are racist, all white cops are racist, and so this justifies a violent response, just as we saw with the protesters in New York chanting for dead cops. And yes, we can also blame certain segments of the media for peddling complete and total myths about the Mike Brown case. In particular, this idea that Brown had his hands up before he was shot by Officer Darren Wilson, which, as the grand jury testimony, the ballistics evidence conclusively proves never actually happened. But this narrative went out. CNN, you had the football players doing the hands up motion. Everybody was doing it as if it actually happened when it never happened, to create this narrative of Mike Brown, this thug that robbed a convenience store, then tried to grab the officer's gun, as some kind of hero, when in fact, as all the evidence shows, Wilson was right to shoot him. The media did not report the facts. They whipped up this fervour, this hysteria, this race war, and now we see the tragic consequences escalating exactly as we warned would happen. And it's all totally counterproductive. If you protest police brutality with brutality, you're only going to get more police brutality. And now, according to this leaked memo, in response to these murders, the NYPD is on a wartime footing. So you're only going to see examples of police brutality escalate, with police officers now living in increased fear that they're being targeted for murder. Which again is something that we warned about back in November, when users took to Twitter to call not only for the death of Darren Wilson, but other white police officers. And now, to top it all off, we actually had people on the scene of where these two cops were shot in the head, clapping and laughing. So, well done, mainstream media. Well done, Al Sharpton. Well done, race baiters. And well done, Ferguson protesters. You wanted dead cops. Well, now you've got them. And in the process, as a result of celebrating these murders and with other people calling for more, you have completely delegitimized the credibility of opposition to the genuine problem of police brutality. So give yourselves a nice pat on the back for that. Well done. And I'll leave you with the words of Martin Luther King, who achieved genuine political change without resorting to violence. Non-violence means avoiding not only external physical violence, but also internal violence of spirit. You not only refuse to shoot a man, but you refuse to hate him. Let me know what you think in the comments below. This is Paul Joseph Watson reporting for Infowars.com.